Welcome. This is a reading of several Aesop's fables. These tales have entertained and taught valuable lessons to us for over a century, and this is my attempt to keep them in our lives. We will begin with the very short story titled The Two Bags. Every man carries two bags about with him, one in front and one behind, and both are packed full of faults. The bag in front contains his neighbor's faults, the one behind his own. Hence, it is that men do not see their own faults, but never fail to see those of others. Next, we will continue with a story titled The Eagle, the Cat, and the Wild Sow. An eagle built her nest at the top of a high tree. A cat with her family occupied a hollow in the trunk halfway down. And a wild sow and her young took up their quarters at the foot. They might have got on very well as neighbors had it not been for the evil cunning of the cat. Climbing up to the eagle's nest, she said to the eagle, "You and I are in the greatest possible danger. That dreadful creature, the sow, who is always to be seen grubbing away at the foot of the tree, means to uproot it, that she may devour your family and mine at her ease." Having thus driven the eagle almost out of her senses with terror, the cat climbed down the tree and said to the sow, "I must warn you against that dreadful bird, the eagle. She is only waiting her chance to fly down and carry off one of your little pigs when you take them out to feed her brood with." She succeeded in frightening the sow as much as the eagle. Then she returned to her hole in the trunk, from which, feigning to be afraid, she never came forth by day. Only by night did she creep out unseen to procure food for her kittens. The eagle, meanwhile, was afraid to stir from her nest, and the sow dared not leave her home among the roots, so that in time both they and their families perished of hunger, and their dead bodies supplied the cat with ample food for her growing family. I do hope you liked that story. Let us continue on to a story titled The Town Mouse and the Country Mouse. A town mouse and the country mouse were acquaintances, and the country mouse one day invited his friend to come and see him at his home in the fields. The town mouse came, and they sat down to a dinner of barleycorns and roots, the latter of which had a distinctly earthy flavor. The fare was not much to the taste of the guest, and presently he broke out with, "My poor dear friend, you live here no better than the ants. Now you should just see how I fare. My larder is a regular horn of plenty. You must come and stay with me, and I promise you, you shall live on the fat of the land." So when he returned to town, he took the country mouse with him and showed him into a larder containing flour and oatmeal and figs and honey and dates. The country mouse had never seen anything like it and sat down to enjoy the luxuries his friend provided. But before they had well begun, the door of the larder opened and someone came in. The two mice scampered off and hid themselves in a narrow and exceedingly uncomfortable hole. Presently, when all was quiet, they ventured out again, but someone else came in, and off they scuttled again. This was too much for the visitor. "Goodbye," said he. "I'm off. You live in the lap of luxury. I can see that you are surrounded by dangers. Whereas at home, I can enjoy my simple dinner of roots and corn in peace." Well, that was very interesting. Next, we will listen to the ant. Ants were once men and made their living by tilling the soil, but not content with the results of their own work, they were always casting longing eyes upon the crops and fruits of their neighbors, which they stole whenever they got the chance, and added to their own store. At last, their covetousness made Jupiter so angry that he changed them into ants. But though their forms were changed, their nature remained the same. And so, to this day, they go about among the cornfields and gather the fruits of others' labor and store them up for their own use. I hope you enjoyed that tale. Shall we continue on to the next story titled The Fox and the Stork? I will begin. A fox invited a stork to dinner, at which the only fare provided was a large flat dish of soup. The fox lapped it up with great relish, but the stork with her long bill tried in vain to partake of the savory broth. Her evident distress caused the sly fox much amusement. But not long after, the stork invited him in turn, and set before him a pitcher with a long and narrow neck, into which she could get her bill with ease, thus while she enjoyed her dinner. The fox sat by hungry and helpless, for it was impossible for him to reach the tempting contents of the vessel. "That is a favorite of mine, and we still have some time left. I will now begin the tale of the frogs ask for a king. Time was when the frogs were discontented because they had no one to rule over them. So they sent a deputation to Jupiter to ask him to give them a king. Jupiter, despising the folly of their request, cast a log into the pool where they lived and said that that should be their king. The frogs were terrified first by the splash and scuttled away into the deepest parts of the pool. But by and by, when they saw that the log remained motionless, one by one they ventured to the surface again. And before long, growing bolder, they began to feel such contempt for it that they even took to sitting upon it, thinking that a king of that sort was an insult to their dignity. They sent to Jupiter a second time and begged him to take away the sluggish king he had given them, and to give them another and a better one. Jupiter, annoyed at being pestered in this way, sent a stork to rule over them, who no sooner arrived among them than he began to catch and eat the frogs as fast as he could. Well, I hope those were interesting and educational, and this is where we shall close our time together. If you like this, let me know. and I can research more to share with you.